Hey, what's up, you guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Checkup Podcast featuring myself, Armani, and AC. Man, how you doing?
I'm great, man. Great. School is finally over, bro. Done for the semester. It feels great to not have homework to do after this. After this recording, not gonna lie,
Right.
man.
No more DQs or anything right now.
Cues, at least not for another few months.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good. With everything going on right now in the league, man, like what you thinking?
Oh man, I'm so ready for the playoffs to come. Like I just keep
Yeah,
seeing
it's getting closer and closer.
getting posts about, this is what the play-in series would look like right now, or if the league stopped right now, these teams would be in the mix. I'm
Right.
so excited, because this year we finally have the play-in, the full play-in schedule, and even though it's going to be kind of controversial, it's going to do what I think it's intended to do, which is provide us with more competitive basketball. People love
Right.
competitive basketball. That's the reason we love March Madness, because it's a make it, take it, win a game. You know what I'm saying? It's competitive. And that's the
Right.
way people don't get in the NBA. So I think that if you're giving me a little dose of that kind of March Madness thing, and I feel like the narratives, and maybe it'll bring back some of the kind of the rivalries that people used to love between teams back in the heyday of the NBA. I feel like rivalries aren't as
That's
important.
prevalent. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not as prevalent. It's more about like the player rivalries, the players who have beefs between each other. It's less about the pride of
Yeah.
this team or this city can't stand the other team or that city, and they're always in competition. So maybe that'll bring back some of it. But looking at it right now, if we stopped it right now, we have Miami at 7 in the East, Charlotte at 8, the Pacers at 9, and the Wizards sitting at 10. So which is really, I just
Hmm.
want to say big shout out to Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook for getting the Wizards to be in the 10th seed right now, because beginning of the year we were writing them off. We're like, man, Russell's probably going to go there and just be stuck in an abyss, in a hole. But he's transformed himself into a greater version of Russell Westbrook. Um, I didn't know it was
Yeah.
possible. He really does everything on a basketball court. The one thing with Russell Westbrook's always been, oh well, this shot he took wasn't the smartest decision, or he shouldn't be taking this 3-point shot, or X Y Z. And I just feel like it's a bit unfair to him,
Right.
because well,
Hmm.
I mean, some of those things are true, but it diminishes away from what he's able to do. And Russell Westbrook is able to go out there and have a 14-point game with 10 assists and 20 rebounds, and that's insane to do, because in a few games behind, he'll have 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 20 assists, and it's like we don't stop and marvel the fact that this man is doing this, and he's doing it efficiently, and he's helping these players who are not the greatest players in the NBA be efficient and win basketball games. I mean, they don't have a winning record. They're 25-33, but like I said, they're in the 10th spot, which means hypothetically, theoretically, they have a chance to make the playoffs. And when you've got a dog like Russell Westbrook and a guy like Bradley Beal, um, and you give them a chance, you just give them an opportunity to get in the game. You never know what can take place. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really
Right.
excited for the possibility of that. I'm also stoked, so happy, man. Finally, I have a Suns team that I can brag about. Finally, I have a
About time, right?
that I can say, you know what, my team can whoop your team in the playoffs, bro. And
Right.
I can say that to anybody straight up, because this team is legit, man. They just the great game last night versus the Philadelphia 76ers. Man,
Hmm.
Chris Paul has been the greatest addition to this team, aside from hiring Monty Williams as the head coach. But these guys, they're just dogs, man. They're competitors. I can't wait to see what we can do in the playoffs. Just seeing how on this long road stretch we're able to beat teams like Milwaukee in close ones. We're able to close out games with Philly. We lost today with the Celtics, but that's okay. That's probably just due to
Yeah.
fatigue and
Hmm.
playing hard in games that are close to the very end.
Right.
But we're sitting at the number 2 spot. I like where we are right now. I feel that if the playoffs were to form up, or how it were to go, any of the teams that we might see at that 7 spot, we can take. I'm not even if it paused right now. I'm not worried about Dallas. Dallas is not beating the Suns in a 7-game series.
I
I
don't
don't
think
care
so
how great you
either.
think Luka Doncic is. I'm telling you that right now. It's not. It's not happening. It's not happening. So I am extremely, extremely happy about the Suns, man. But I have to give major props where it is due to players that are not getting enough recognition from the major media sources in the NBA because they only talk about the same few players. Now these
Right.
players are not, I'm not going to say that they're players that don't get any attention because they're still superstars, they're still stars, but they're not the Steph, the Kyrie, KD, LeBron, AD. They're in the same talking mix every day. Paul
Right.
George has been balling out of his mind. I
Oh yeah,
I
dude. It's
he
going
said before the season,
crazy.
he was like, I'm back working with my trainer, what I'm saying, that I had for my MVP season, which was when he was third in MVP voting and he was playing out his mind in OKC. And with Kawhi being out and guys like Ibaka being out and it just being PG out there, being the main guy, it's back to him doing what he's always been able to do, but hasn't been able to showcase in a long time because he hasn't been just the number one guy on the court since he pretty much left Indiana. Once he got to the Thunder, Russ is that alpha dog. Russ is that guy who takes over, and he wants to be, he's that number one leader. So Paul George falls into the two, and he was able to be really efficient playing the two and doing those kinds of things. But we also see that now that he's back playing the kind of the one since Kawhi isn't playing right now, he can shoulder that load, and it's definitely with his previous like eight games or so, averaging about I believe it's 28 or so, shooting 43% from the like three. He's been balling,
Mhm.
and he's carrying his team, and that's why they're still up there in the third spot because they've had some injuries and they've had some tough going, and it takes a lot to stay up in the West and stay floating, especially when another dog is biting at your heels, which is my guy, which I have to say is the MVP front runner. If we're just being completely honest and fair, Nikola Jokic. Okay, got the
Mhm.
Denver Nuggets sitting at number 4. My man has not missed a game yet. In a season when every superstar has missed X amount of games, he hasn't missed a single game yet. He's carrying his team. He's doing everything. The man has improved so much as a player between last year. Uh, we don't talk about Denver as being another threat to make it back to the Western Conference Finals,
Yeah, just because of the
but
injuries and stuff. Yeah.
but I mean, I feel like that's a little disrespectful, man, because this
You can't
guy,
count him out though. He's a superior
this,
playmaker
I mean,
as a big.
this guy is definitely the best center in the West.
No
Ask
question.
me, this is the first time in quite some time that we've had a number one center in the West and a number one center in the East, and I'm not really
Mhm.
sure which one I think is better because they're both number one where on their respective sides, and that being Embiid.
Right.
But I don't know which one I would take over because obviously it's different play styles. You know, Jokic is a bit more of a passer, flasher. Embiid plays excellent defense. Jokic doesn't play a lick of defense, but
Yeah, he's lazy. He's slow.
but they're both like beasts, man. And it's great to have centers still showing that they have an impact on the game. They're not just
Right.
by roaming the paint and blocking shots and just being a menacing presence. You know what I'm saying? They can still do that, which is word to Rudy Gobert. But they've shown them that centers like Jokic can step out, can put the ball on the ground. He moves just as fast as Luka Doncic, so I don't see why there's a problem. He gets the same.
Right.
So he be cooking dudes. So word up to Jokic and Paul George for doing that thing, man. Oh, and the last one, shout out to Julius Randle. We were talking about the Knicks before the podcast
Mhm.
started. Word to
Just dropped
Julius.
40 last night.
Hey, they're on an 8-game win streak right now. The Knicks are. Julius is playing out of his mind, and I think him and Derrick Rose are helping to at least coach and teach these young guys how to kind of win. Even though Julius Randle's a young guy in himself, you know what I'm saying? He's only been in the league
Right.
probably like 4 or 5 years at this point. So he's not
Mhm.
like an OG or nothing. But Tom Thibodeau's got that team playing well. They're competing in the East, so a lot of great stories going on in the league right now, man. And another one, forgot. Jaren Jackson is back for the Memphis Grizzlies, which is a huge addition for that team, who have been fighting at that eighth spot. And now that he's
Yeah.
healthy, he's their second best player. He's back. I expect Memphis to make a lot more noise going into the end of the season because they could legitimately be, they could legitimately move up and take that spot from or fight for that spot from Portland. You know what I'm saying? Because remember last year
Yeah.
they were that team that was fighting with Portland for that spot. And they
Right.
only lost, if you ask me, because they didn't have Jaren Jackson Jr. for that game. They didn't have that guy, so they were completely outclassed, outnumbered that game, and it was kind of a walk-in for Portland. But this time it's gonna be different. They got him back. Praying he stays healthy, and we can
Yeah.
see what
Hopefully.
John
Hmm.
Morant can do in the playoffs. Because I think that's another thing people are really excited to see. We're going to see what these flashier young guys that we haven't seen in the playoffs do. You know what I'm saying? We might not get to see Zion in the playoffs. I think we should, at least in the play-in game. But John Morant's one of those young guys, you know what I'm saying, you want to see in the playoffs. We're not going to get to see Trae Young this year, I don't think, because he just picked up an
Hmm.
injury, which is another thing. I think the league really needs to reconsider their approach to how they did this year and how they're going to do the break for next season because
Yeah.
it's
It was too soon. The league
hard.
started way too soon, and nobody had
It's hard
rest
to
enough
get
to
right now.
even gather.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's too many superstars is hurt, playing hurt these games, man, because they didn't have enough rest. They didn't get enough time for their bodies, what they're used to, what their bodies are expected to do. We're asking them to do.
Right.
Um,
Hmm.
so I feel like they're gonna do a better job going into next year, but they need to be more conscious just in general. Like these guys, the people, they're not machines, and having
Right. No, that's
72
true,
games
bro.
at the end of a season and the start of another season, and it being you only took 10 games off the season, you still made it a 72 game season. Like that's still a lot of games. There's still a lot of travel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um,
Back to
so
backs and stuff, all that
and
stuff, bro.
back,
It's
long
hard.
road trips, I don't know. I feel like there's a reason why all of our MVP frontrunners all have a check, or an asterisk next to their name on why the MVP case isn't as strong as it should be, and it's because Steph
Right.
missed games, Harden missed games, uh, Embiid missed games. Like everyone has missed. Everyone who's been
Exactly.
that kind of person has missed games, and it's been because of more or less just not fatigue. Essentially, these injuries are like fatigue based. So the league's got to do better. I'm sure the NBA PA is going to talk to them about it at the end of this year. Make sure these
Hmm.
guys get a decent break. I expect if money from the sponsors or money from the corporations or the team
Right.
was whatever, I expect that the NBA is going to push back just because the players that represent them are these players. You know what I'm saying? Are these guys who are having to miss games? One of the vice president is Kyrie, a guy whose main teammate James Harden is feeling exactly that because he was forced
He's
to play
brutally beat up right now.
he was forced to play a lot of minutes because all of his teammates were hurt because they had the same problem. But he was also, what I'm saying, went through the same season, played deep into it, and he was tired. And so now he's out of gas. He re-aggravated his hamstring. So I think that the player union, they'll probably stand up pretty strong and be unified if the NBA tries to push back about some kind of politics about how they can make things work or whatnot. I don't see that to be the case. Adam Silver is for the most part, a pretty reasonable commissioner, pretty understanding
Yeah.
player. So I foresee them getting, whoever wins the trophy lifts it at the end of this year to have a long, well needed break following that following that
Yeah.
following that trophy.
Yeah, for real, bro. And even now we're looking at with the Brooklyn Nets right now, bro. They're all beat up right now, bro. I mean, Kyrie's on the court by himself right now. It seems like one point we get Harden by himself, we get Kyrie and Harden for a little bit. Kevin
Yep.
Durant comes back. Kevin Durant's hurt now. So like it kind of creates this problem now for the team. It's like, okay, now LaMarcus Aldridge also just recently retired too, something that we didn't get to talk about last time. But it's crazy, bro. Like the depth on that team is slowly not fully there. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of creating a problem with chemistry. I feel like, bro. Like going into the playoffs, bro. Like I don't know. I know we're sitting here and we say obviously like, yeah, this team's destined to make a championship run, but at the same time, bro, these guys aren't even healthy. You know what I'm saying? And to try to come back and just, oh, let's get back on court and just go kill people. Like, bro, like I don't even think right now at this point they can do that, bro. They need to slowly, rehab up and regather their team.
Yeah, I think my only thing is that I think one of the most interesting aspects about this Brooklyn Nets team is that if you watch the games, even when their stars aren't playing, like this team has fun, or at least the stars of this team, they're having fun. You'll see KD
Right.
and Harden
Yeah.
joking around the sidelines. You'll see Kyrie and KD messing around. Like these guys really have a connection with each other. At least the main three do. And I'm sure they're because they have a nice personality, they've connected with the rest of the team. But those
Mhm.
when your main players are that close to each other, they talk that much. They're friends like that. Whether they aren't playing with each other, they at least really understand that person as more than just a teammate. You know what I'm saying? So I once you understand someone as more than a teammate and as a friend, you can then be able to predict and connect with them better as you play. You know what I'm saying? Which is usually why
Yeah.
the person that you play best on the team with is your best friend. You know, it's not just because they're the best player that
Right.
on the team. Is because you know what I'm saying you're friends with them. I know how to make them look good. They know how to make me look good and whatnot. And so when it comes down to it, every single time these guys have played together, they put on a show. And it hasn't been because they had a long off season to work together because Harden didn't show up until during the season, and him and
Right in the
Kyrie picked it
middle of
up.
camp. Yeah.
First game they played together, him and Kyrie putting on a show. Kyrie, KD, Harden putting on like they don't miss a beat. This team
No, at all.
is built so even though the number three guys are always kind of ticky tack hurt and they're in and out, the other guys that are on the team they're like all dependable to do exactly what you're asking them for. Like you ask me, Jeff Green is playing to more than what I knew Jeff Green did. If Jeff Green played like this on the Cavs team, I'm not. I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna leave it alone. Anyway, Jeff Green is
Right.
playing mine. I didn't know Jeff Green still had this in the tank at his age, but he's been
He's
hooping.
savvy, bro.
And you
Hmm.
give all these guys who can easily score 50 points, you give them a shooter who is one of the most easy knockdown shooters in the league, and Joe Harris, a 3-point shooting champion that people didn't even know about
Yeah.
until he won the championship. Like when he won it, beat Steph, everyone was like, yo, who is this Joe Harris dude? But it's like he had a burner, he been had a burner, and
He
you
was a
give him
spot up
that.
shooter, knockdown. Hmm.
Come on, man. This team, like you ask me, all this team has to do in order to win the championship or to compete for a championship is to make sure that they have at least at least two of their core three players ready by the second round of the playoffs. As long as they have two of them by the second round, they're good.
Yeah.
The first round, the one if they have Kyrie, Harden, or KD, and only one of them plays, they can win the first round. I don't care who they play. They can win the first round because one of those
Mhm.
because those guys will make sure they get out the first round. There's no way
Yeah.
Kyrie, Hard, well, okay. There's no way Harden or KD are losing in the first round.
Yeah,
I don't
I can more so say I
know.
can, and I agree with you on that too. I can more so say Harden and KD can get it done by themselves rather than Kyrie by himself, maybe. And there's no scrutiny behind that or no diss or anything, but it's just like the
Just
mentality
intangible,
wise
bro.
of how they play. Yeah, the
It's
mentality of how
intangible.
they play and how they elevate the game of their teammates is different than I feel like a Kyrie Irving can do for his team.
It's also just play style. Like
Yeah, no, yeah, because Harden's a point guard.
what's the
Harden.
first thing you say about Kevin Durant when you mention Kevin Durant? You say efficient, bro. KD is
Efficient
efficient.
scorer.
What he's known for. So you give anyone a player with KD and all what I'm saying KD all KD needed in a game is 15 shots to get you 30 points. That's all he
Yeah,
needs.
quietly too.
Probably
Not
gonna,
even effective. Not
probably gonna get
quietly, but yeah.
15 shots, bro. You know what I'm saying? He can
Hmm.
probably get you 30 with less than 15. So that
Hmm.
allows everyone else in the team to step up and participate and make it.
Right.
Harden
Hmm.
is a guy who, as much as people are always talking, people haven't let go of that. Oh, Harden's a ball hog. Harden don't pass. That was his stigma before Harden was an MVP. Before it was a
Yeah.
Harden who passed the ball. All he do
Houston. Yeah, they used to get on his head, bro. Bad.
but in that
I
moment,
was one of those guys.
but he was still making the bucket. You know what I'm saying? Or you were hating, and he was still finding the player that he wanted to in the corner right before the buzzer. And he's now become a more efficient distributor of the basketball. It's a lot less of the constant dribble in order to find the look he's looking for. He's
Right.
way to come around the screens to set the play up, before he gets the ball, so he knows where he's going.
Right. He's getting
And,
to a spots and creating space. Yeah.
I mean, Kyrie just can't distribute the way Harden can, and it's no disrespect.
No.
Harden can go out
No. Yeah, I know.
tonight. I know he in one night. Harden give me 20 assists. Kyrie not gonna give me 20 assists in one night, even if he tried. Harden could do that. If I say Harden go out there and give me 20 assists, he could do that, and you can still give
He'll
me 20.
find every person on the court,
And he'll still give me 20 points at least. If I say Kyrie go give me 20 and 20, he's not coming back with that. And that's not a knock. I'm just saying. So they need one of those. They need one of those two guys to come back to play with the team in order because once they have to see somebody. So if they stay at the number 2 seed, which is where they're at right now, and we're going based on the hypothetical schedule they have right now, they would have to see the Miami Heat first round. Okay. A little scary because Miami's a solid team. They were in the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
If they make it out of that one, which I'm hoping, obviously the Nets are hoping they don't have to see Miami first round. That's not what you want to see.
I don't think that's that's not the matchup that you would want to see, especially in the opening round, bro.
They're tied for the number 1 seed right now with the Sixers. If they get that spot, then they play like a team like the Hornets, okay, which is a walk in the park. You know what I'm saying? The Hornets are a great team as far as mid-level tier teams in the East.
Yeah, they're like an exciting young team right now.
So if that were to happen, then they would have to play somebody in the second round. I was assuming they get the number 1 seed, and it would probably be out of the Hawks or the Knicks, you know, which if it's the Knicks, we get a great New York showdown, but you know, they can still come back for that. Now, if they stay at the 2nd seed, this is where it gets interesting because they'd have, like, obviously we're going right now, they have to see Miami first round, right? But then they would also have to see whoever comes out of Milwaukee and the Celtics. And that's
going to be a high dynamic scoring offense.
You don't want to see whoever comes out of Milwaukee or the Celtics second round and you don't have either Harden or KD back and you just have Kyrie.
Yeah.
Because you're getting Milwaukee's for sure blitzing you. I'm telling you right now. Milwaukee's blitzing them. If you're Kyrie,
no question, bro. They have to. They're just going to logjam inside, bro, because the interior defense and the interior inside of Brooklyn is still not sufficient enough to win a game at times. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they win games, obviously, but Milwaukee's just going to jam in, bro. They're just going to jam in. And it's going to be too easy for Giannis to just get inside unless you have Kevin Durant. But at the same time, he's going to be on offense. So what do you preserve? Exactly. So it creates a big problem in that area. The thing with Boston, though, if you look at it, though, possibly get someone in the lock-in on defense against those backcourt players. But at the same time, though, like Jason Tatum is still playing out of his mind right now, too. Like that's a person I think we're all forgetting about, too, is Jason Tatum. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that all goes, you know?
Yeah, most definitely. So
yeah,
you know, the playoffs are going to be great, man. I'm not. We all were scared of this Nets super team, and it's like we said earlier. The only team.
Yeah, and I still am. Don't get me wrong, I still am. But
the only team they can lose to is themselves, realistically. You know, what I'm saying?
Injuries bearing on them right now.
If they're all healthy, man, they're not losing. They're not losing anybody in the East. I'm sorry. There's no one. The 76ers might give them a good run for their money. You know what I'm saying? Because they have no interior defense. They've got 2 DPOY candidate players, you know, in Embiid and Ben Simmons.
And Simmons, yeah.
So and they've got another. I'm gonna give this. We're just giving props to everybody, man. Matisse Thybulle is a lock up, bro. He is a lock, dog.
He's a really good defender, bro. That people are sleeping on.
People are sleeping on him, man. I was watching him play
too.
Watching him play defense on Devin Booker, man, and I was like, yo, how did he get back in this play? I swear to God, when Devin got up to shoot the shot, Matisse was not there. And somehow here he go for the spike. I'm like, whoa, where did he bro? Relentless, bro. Matisse is one of those guys where I watched an interview with I think it was him watching his highlights and just on YouTube. He was like, yeah, man, I can't stand when people just let guys shoot shots in the NBA. He's like, I just don't get it. Like, I have to contest everything. Like, I don't get how dudes just be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to just let him have that. Like, no, I'm contesting everything. I'm not giving you anything at all. And then, like, they were just showing his highlights, and I'm like, wow, Like that's really his mindset because
He
Matisse
was a really good defender in college too. Yeah.
if he's nearby, he's helping, bro. He's helped defense block. If he's he's guarding you, he's all up in your face, following you everywhere, 365, stuff like white on rice, man. They got a great defensive team, and I think come down in the playoffs when the ball slows down. If the Sixers are probably the second best team in the East, man. Like that might be disrespectful.
Consensus wise,
that might be a little disrespectful to Milwaukee. You can make the argument because you can go roster spot for roster spot. We can talk about it, but I think as a whole, probably would go with the Sixers team because the Sixers team just stop that dog. Like Matisse can shoot. They got Seth can shoot. You know what I'm saying? You got Maxey off the bench. You can come on.
Dorchill's on that team right now too. He's a shooter.
Veteran presence. Like you got Dwight coming off the bench at the center spot.
Yeah,
they got some dogs, man. So I'm really excited for the playoffs to come, man.
Yeah.
It's getting closer and closer.
Yeah, most definitely, man.